Thousands of years ago, long before cities, kingdoms, and history books, our ancestors walked through a world far harsher than we can imagine today. It was the Ice Age, a time when giant glaciers carved the land, when winters seemed endless, and when survival depended not on wealth or power, but on courage, cooperation, and ingenuity. Picture a frozen valley where snow falls endlessly from gray skies. Small bands of humans wrapped in animal hides move slowly across the vast plains. They carry fire in their hearts and spears in their hands. They are not kings or warriors of legend, they are simply people trying to stay alive. By day, they search for food. Hunting was never guaranteed. A mammoth might feed the tribe for months, but it could also trample hunters in an instant. Sometimes they set traps, digging pits and covering them with branches, hoping a beast would fall in. Other times, they worked together, encircling prey, each person's life depending on the strength and courage of the others. But humans were not the only hunters. The forests hid silent predators, saber-toothed tigers with fangs longer than a man's hand, lions larger than any alive today, and packs of dire wolves with bone-crushing jaws. For every hunt that humans began, there was always the risk of becoming the hunted. And yet, even in this brutal world, there were moments of warmth. At night, families gathered around fires inside caves, flames danced across the walls, and shadows came alive. Elders told stories of brave hunts, of spirits in the wind, of lessons learned through struggle. Children listened with wide eyes, knowing that every word carried wisdom for survival. Inside those caves, humans painted. With red ochre and charcoal, they sketched mammoths, bison, and deer upon stone walls. These paintings were not just art, they were memory, knowledge, and prayer. They were the first chapters of human history written not with ink, but with fire and stone. But life was never still. Storms raged across the land, blizzards swallowed entire valleys, and food grew scarce. When glaciers advanced, tribes had no choice but to move. They carried their tools, their fire, and their stories across mountains and rivers. Migration was a gamble, but staying meant death. Along their journeys, they met others. Neanderthals, strong and stocky, already lived in Europe's frozen forests. Sometimes there was peace, the sharing of tools, of hunts, of fire. Other times there was conflict. Two peoples standing on opposite banks of a river, each watching, each deciding whether to fight or to flee. And always, nature tested them. A woolly rhinoceros, with its massive horn, could overturn a hunter's hope with a single charge. A ground sloth taller than any man stood as both threat and wonder. In these encounters, humans learned caution, patience, and respect for the creatures that shared their world. But what kept them alive, more than strength or weapons, was unity. Alone, a hunter was nothing against the ice, the beasts, the storms. Together, pulling the body of a mammoth with ropes made of hide, they were a tribe, a family that no force of nature could easily break. As centuries passed, the glaciers began to melt. Rivers roared with new life, valleys opened, and the world slowly changed. Our ancestors followed the sun, step by step, carrying with them not only tools and fire, but also the memory of their struggles, the stories told around countless fires, the lessons carved into stone. And so, from the frozen plains of the Ice Age, humanity endured, not because they were the strongest nor the fiercest, but because they learned to adapt, to dream, and to stand together. When we look back at their journey, we see more than just survival. We see the birth of courage, the spark of imagination, and the first footsteps of the human story.